Bodybuilding fans and athletes around the world, welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle, a very special episode. Tim Wilkins, joined by the real deal Chris Cormier.
In the house, real deal.
And the one and only Tarek Elgindy, IFBB Pro Judge. Good day, sir.
Great to be here, Tim Wilkins. Great to be here, Chris Cormier. We have in the house Urs Kalecinski, one of the greatest classic physique champions of our time.
Thank you for having me on. That's a great, I would say, like a great introduction of my person, but I love Tarek for this.
You never know what he's going to say.
No, Chris, I only say negative things about you.
Okay.
So Urs, we are very excited to have you here. And for the people that don't know your story, when did you start bodybuilding? And then tell us about those first couple shows that really put you on the map.
Yeah, I mean, I started bodybuilding pretty young. I mean, I'm still just 25 years old, but I started with 13, 14 years old. My dad was actually a weightlifter back in the days. He went with the Polish national team and everything, and I always tried to make my parents proud. And then I was doing like dancing, and my mom was proud because she was a ballerina, and my dad was like, come on, son. and then I started to do like weightlifting, and my mom was like, you need to play guitar at least. And then I was like, let's go, I do bodybuilding. So we have both worlds combined together, and now both of them are proud, and I'm doing my thing now since 10 years. Competing, I started competing 2016 as a teenager, and worked my way up, won the junior nationals in Germany 2018, and then 2019 in my first IFBB season I turned pro, and from there on 2020 I did the Mexico show, which I lost by 1 point, and I met the legendary Chris Cormier over there. He checked my form.
The gatekeeper. They call me the gatekeeper.
He changed my side chest like 4 minutes before pre-cutting, and I was like, fuck. But maybe that's why I lost, you know.
No, you should have won that show.
No, it was awesome.
You should have won that show.
Yeah, I lost to Mike, and that was the best thing can happen to me, honestly, because then 2 weeks later, my brother and I decided, okay, hey, we don't stop, we go for Tampa Pro. And that was my first time in the US ever. We had A-star problems coming inside. I was sitting at the airport, I remember 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting and praying that they let us in. And then, we shocked the Tampa Pro. Out of 43 competitors back in the days, there was Steve Loris also in it, and everybody thought he's gonna win this, and I showed up and won this show and qualified for my first Olympia, where I placed 4th, and then from then on.
It was a explosive beginning of career. I remember doing a live after that Olympia where Urs placed 4th, and Chris Bumstead does not like to mention who is his biggest rival. He's very diplomatic. But during the live, Bob was there, Sean Ray was there, Flex Wheeler. We eventually got it. We're like, Chris, if there was one guy that you would pick the physique if it wasn't yours, and he said, the young German guy, Urs. And man, we were just looking at one of his front lat spreads. Urs Kalecinski is one of the prettiest, most beautiful physiques we have right now in bodybuilding. If you put him on the open bodybuilding lineup, if you put him on the 212 lineup, and he just hits a front lat spread, which is not a classic physique pose, you'll say this is one of the most beautiful physiques. Now, the problem is this. This guy came up so fast. Chris Bumstead picked him to be the heir apparent. Chris Bumstead said, this is the guy. This is the guy that he didn't say Ramon, he didn't say Wesley Vissers, he said Urs Kalecinski. And Urs had such an explosive rise that we were like, okay, this is the guy. but Urs has not yet beaten Chris Bumstead. And he was ahead of Ramon. He beat Ramon. Ramon was 5th place and he was 4th. The key question is Urs the guy, or is Ramon the guy, or is Wesley Vissers the guy? You know, Cormier.
I mean, do you think that was like a one-time deal? You know, all the stars aligned perfectly for Wesley this time? Or do you think that's going to be an ongoing problem for you?
It's not, and I'm going to prove it at the end of the year or in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
First in 2 weeks, and then at the end of the year with Bumstead.
And I feel like we watched you grow up from a little kid, growing into a man now. And I feel like you feel like you've done this forever already, right? Mm. It's been like a while that you've been involved. But I feel like if you could just continue to improve like you are. I want to talk a little bit about your posing. Mm-hmm. Your posing is an extraordinary poser. I think that's one of your strongest attributes is your posing. And I think that's what needs to be highlighted about you, because it's not normal. I mean, the theatrics from the hand movements to the rewind, going backwards, the thing, all that stuff.
Is that the dance background?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working together with my mom for a longer time now, and she's not just like looking at the poses and the posing. She's like, when you put up your hand, she takes your face and says like, don't look there, because in the whole room it makes you more aesthetically pleasing. And it's just, for her, it's when I do this, she changes maybe in that nuance, and that's a big impact on stage, especially when all the other competitors just try to hit another pose after the other, and try to like keep it on the music.
It's beautiful because if you watch Pumping Iron, Franco Columbu, Arnold, they were taking classes with a ballerina to have a better presentation. Yeah. The category is called Classic Physique. And you have one pose, your favorite Classic Physique pose, which a lot of people, they ignore it, but the judges look at the poses and go, I prefer that pose. So your artistic input is extremely important. Urs is possibly the best poser in the Classic Physique. The key question is, he's growing in size, but in the last couple shows, we didn't nail the conditioning. What is happening there, Urs?
I would say the conditioning was pretty on, but I mean, that's the on one side, that's the crazy part about the Classic, and at the other side it's the excited part about Classic. But you can why you can see, like, I mean, Wesley, a guy from like top 7 to 10 Olympia placing, went to the first place because he brought the A game this night.
Would you call his A game? Because one of the first things that I noticed, and I talked to the judges that were there, was the fact that he was more conditioned than Ramon and you, especially on top. The separation on shoulders, biceps, it was his A game because his conditioning was better. It wasn't because he grew size, because he couldn't really have grown that much since the last Olympia. Would you agree that it was his conditioning that made the difference?
Yeah, I would say it was his conditioning and his, like, the fullness, because when we all saw me and Ramon at the evening, and we had a different level of fullness, and that was also the feedback from the judges. They told me in pre-judging the fullness wasn't there 100%, and we have the weigh-ins, and then we just have the one-day carb up. Mm-hmm. You know how it is, and sometimes the body...
It's tough, man. You can only get so much food in your body, and to not have your stomach bloat within that 24-hour period, and that's the toughest part. I wish you were with me. I wish you can always weigh the guys in, even if it's a separate day for the Classic guys, because it's a big situation to have only 24 hours to bring your body back. And I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I mean, we've done 4 days in four countries in the European tour. So it wasn't much of a carb up. It was like almost like no carb the whole time. But to go through a whole prep, be a certain weight category, that's another thing. They got to get down to a weight cap and then get 24 hours and then get on the stage.
And sometimes it works super good, you know. I did this Texas Pro show.
Which you looked better there than the Olympia, right?
Yeah, and that was the weigh-in at 5 p.m., but my body just soaked in all the carbs and it clicked perfectly. And that's always the peaking thing. I mean,
but in bodybuilding, you know, on a Monday you can look like $100,000. By Wednesday you could look about $5, and then by Friday you can look back up to where you were. It all depends on how you wake up sometimes.
I was at best the Monday after.
The Monday.
So
that's always the mix. That is always the mix.
Well, you know, and that's my point. I think Urs is one show away from really showing his best, because Urs from Texas, you know, he's extremely hard to beat. Do you think as you develop as a bodybuilder, as you discover how your body responds in terms of carbing up the final hours, you will become even more deadly? You will know
100%.
exactly what's happening, correct?
100%. And that also was the feedback from Tyler, for example, in Texas. He said, like, that was the 1 week after Olympia. He just came back and said, like, that look last week, that would be like, that would change a lot. And yeah, sometimes it is crazy with those peaks, and but we all in the same boat. I mean, every of the classic guys needs to make the weight limit and do the peak perfectly, or tries to hit it
How
perfectly.
much more weight do you have? Sorry, Chris. How much more weight can you put on?
It depends.
What's the cap for you to?
The cap is 103.
That's 210, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 210.
No, that's 230.
230?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's about 227, right?
Yeah, 227, exactly.
I'm doing kilos in my head.
Yeah. 227, and
kilos.
Yeah.
I weighed it in at the Arnold's with 225, I would say.
So you have 2 pounds, not that much, 2 pounds.
But I eat a meal before that.
Let
it always depends. You can like really push into the weight. And what I realized, because I also heard what Ramon had at the Arnold's this year and before the last year's Olympia.
Food-wise?
No.
Oh, weight-wise.
Weight-wise. And he was lighter at the Olympia than this year's Arnold's. And he looked way better at the Olympia, in my opinion. So that's another point with the weight.
Let me put you up on game, because my comrade here hasn't actually been on stage before, only to check the lights or something like that. But when you're 25 years old, you don't really know much.
Yeah.
You think you do because you're,
I don't think so.
I'm just saying you may feel you do, but there's so many more shows and so many more years that, I mean, when you finally nail it, like I've seen it, but it was a different thing. You weren't even competing, and I've seen your best, and your best is gonna be shocking. I'm telling you. And I told you that when I first met you, because I could see it already, but like when I saw you in Tampa, I believe, I was like, oh shit, like this guy, and you weren't even ready for the show yet, but you was peeking out at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
And you remember that?
Yeah.
So you bring that to the stage, that's when it's gonna be lights out.
Yeah, 100%.
That's when it's gonna be lights out, I'm telling you. But
and that's why I do so much more shows.
That's what I say, just take your time, get the stripes, get stripes on your belt, take the time, not like, oh, each show you don't gotta win each show. Right now you're getting your feet wet, you're getting a flying understanding about what you need to do up there against the best guys. You're going against the best guys all the time. It's gonna be nothing for you, and one of these days, one of these years, you're gonna hit it 100%.
Well, we're going to talk about your future and maybe some of your thoughts about the Arnold Classic. We're going to do all that when we come back on this very special episode with Urs Kalaczynski of Primetime Muscle. And we're back with more Primetime Muscle and our very special guest, Urs Kalaczynski. Urs, let's talk about this last Arnold Classic. and maybe even the Olympia, because it's a lot of the usual suspects for you. It's you, Ramon, Breon. This last one was Michael DeBoule. As you look at this group of guys, there's a couple guys coming up maybe that I'm looking at, like a Carlos Domar. What are you seeing in these guys? Where are some weak spots or strong points for you? You say, all right, here's where I can start to make some moves, build out my delts, build out my. Where's your head?
Honestly, my head is very, very focused on the big shows and to get a big impact over there. And I would say
body part wise, what are you looking at too?
Body part wise, I looked a lot of my arms and my back, but after I always try to get my feet back, and every time they say it matches more, it matches more, it matches more, and that's definitely a good direction. And as we all know, the muscle doesn't grow from today until tomorrow, but that gives me a good feedback for myself, for my kind of training, for everything I'm doing, that I try to bring up a super aesthetic and balanced physique. That's bodybuilding for me. That's always what I wanted to achieve, and it's always what I loved about bodybuilding. That combined with like a super good posing, with spot on conditioning, and then the right peak. That's gonna be a deadly package, and I think I have all the attributes which a lot of competitors miss in some kind of way. What makes me the next Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, when you're gonna check all the boxes, Urs, like I say, the posing, I mean, that's gonna set a new standard. I think you're gonna get better and better at that. That's gonna set a new standard. Like, they all have to bring it in the posing routine. You're gonna bring the physique with that, 2 years away from having a great back and a great physique, with the pose and with all of that and the stage presence and the you
make it in 1 year.
Yeah, I mean,
change the 2 years to a year.
Yeah,
but then we're good.
But yeah, but I'm just saying, like, for sure you're gonna see a major difference in that time. I'm just judging from your weight. I mean, from your age. When I was 27 years old. Go ahead, bro.
That's what I'm going to get at, Chris, because these young guys that watch the show, that watch the sport, very impatient. What's the perfect supplements and how do I get this, and this fast? How has your mindset been knowing that muscle matures over time? And you got guys like us on the show saying in a year or 2 years, he's going to be unstoppable.
And I'm counting the reps within the month, within the year. I'm counting the reps it takes to get it. It's not about, you're not going to get at the dinner table and get the back. Yeah. Get at the dinner table and get
Chris,
this and that.
you're wrong once again. You're often wrong.
I'm not wrong.
I'm going to correct you one more time. Okay?
So you don't know what
just listen to me right now. Hey, just give me an opportunity, okay? He's beating guys that have been competing for a much longer time. Okay?
That's because he's special.
Exactly. Listen, he beat Breon Ansley, who's been competing for a long time. So the deep cuts, the muscle maturity comes into play. But the reality is that he's been beating guys that have been around for a much longer time than him.
It's not about
because he has
and looking like a person that's not.
Hear me out.
I'm just telling you because you don't really know what you're talking about right now.
He's beaten guys that have been around much longer, such as Breon Ansley, such as Michael DeBoule. Michael DeBoule has been around long because he has attributes that they don't, and it's the lines. His lines are very beautiful. He has the small waist, the flaring quads, and he has the posing, which is an attribute that a lot of people don't have. Breon is a good poser, though. But his competitors, Ramon and Chris Bumstead and Wesley Vissers, they're all his age, right? I mean, I think Ramon is 28. How old are you?
25.
25. Maybe he's a little bit younger.
But that 25 mark is different.
I understand, but he could be Mr. Olympia this year. And if he wins, nobody's going to be saying, well, he's too young to be Mr. Olympia.
That's not what I was
Everybody's
saying.
going to say he's the best. He's the best. Sorry, Urs, I need to correct him off in here.
I was giving him some good advice. He's trying to mess it up. I'm trying to give him sound advice, and you're trying to mess it up. I was telling him that, the maturity comes from those reps that you're going to have in your body over the 6 months, or another 6 months, and another whatever. it's gonna make a big difference when it comes down to your physique on that stage. And when you get the posing with that, and the stage presence, and the everything, the color, everything down, and the mature. Oh man,
he sounds great. He could be Mr. Olympia.
For all the young guns who watching and try to be there on the Olympia stage with 25 years old, don't think about your age. Just think about your career and where you want to be. And when you have a dream to be there with 20 years old, I mean, I said like, hey, I said to my brother, let's go to the US and do it. And I was like 21 years old. So if I wouldn't believe in myself, I wouldn't achieve it. And that's how I think, and that's my approach.
So guys, back when I had a question, it's still, as an advice to the younger guys, how do you manage your patience? Because and patience, back to Tarek's point, since your debut, you've never been out of the top 5, have you?
No.
No. You've always been in the top 5 with an eye on the number 2 and the number 1 spot. Knowing that muscle builds over time, what mindset do you use to manage your patience?
For me, it's not the mindset. It's the love to the game, to the sport at all. And I mean,
drive.
Yeah.
And
it's also
guy.
like the drive. I don't have motivation or something because I do cardio year round every morning, and I get messages for what keeps you motivated, and I try to just build up habits, habits, and just do it. If you want to achieve something, there are things you need to do. If you open up a company, you have to do your tech stuff, or you have to do your things you don't like. So just do it, like Nike said. It's very true.
He comes from a line of great bodybuilders, Dennis Wolf, right? Marcos Rule. Andreas Munzer, all those guys were great bodybuilders. Now, Urs Kalaczynski, in my opinion, Dennis Wolf, placed 3rd at the Olympia, but Urs could be the greatest German bodybuilder once he's done. And the potential is there. Do I think he can beat Ramon, Sebum, and Wesley Vissers at this Olympia? Yes, but he needs to be at his best, and that is Texas Pro. If he brings that physique, which right now with a little bit more muscle can be even better, Urs Kalaczynski could be the Classic Physique Olympia champion. And we're about to see that. And I don't mean to disagree with Chris, which I love to do, but your boy Brian beat Denny Hester, who was older than him. He's been beating Brian, who's older than him. His time is not 2 years from now. His time is not a year from now. His time is right now, beating Chris Bumstead, beating Ramon and Wesley Vissers at this Olympia.
Yeah, the reason I say that because I was his age, 24, 25, in the top 6 in the Open Olympia. Nice. But I still didn't have the body that I'd had when I went up to the 3rd place and went up to the closer to where I could have won it. And I was like actually 15 pounds even heavier than when I started.
I don't gonna wait until I'm 30.
No, I'm just saying, that's how it was for me. So I just knew, looking back now, like when you're 30 and 35, you're gonna think differently about you do today. It's a total different mindset.
Maybe, but that would would fuck up my mindset right now when I would say like.
I'm not saying that. I'm just
5 years, and then I have
just tell you what life is, brother.
The other athletes, they need to be spot on this year. They better be ready.
But you've seen your body come to a point where you're like, oh shit.
And I see
shocking.
I see other parts, like we all know bodybuilding is more than just lifting and training.
Right.
And I listened to what Chris Bumstead said before me, and he's having a lot of other stuff to do right now, and I don't. I'm living in my little apartment in Berlin, going to this gym, the bunker downstairs, working my ass off, and I know I do much more than the other guys. I'm not going on vacation and spending time with family and with my kids or
You're
something.
Doing a Clubber Lane.
Sounds like an awesome life.
Yeah.
I'm all in it.
Lane,
I'm all in it. My girlfriend is my support system, and I said to her, if we wanna have the best life in 5 years or 10 years,
gotta do the work.
Then we need to invest now, and she understood it, and that's something I'm really happy about it, and that's why I work my ass off, for the future.
Yeah, if you have a great home life and a great system like that, that's.
I'm all in it, and I'm not joking around. That's why I'm really into it, and I'm going a bit like.
Let's talk about your training. Let's talk about your time in the bunker. What's your
intensity is a good word for it, because back in 2020 I was able to spend some time with Dorian Yates in Marbella, and he introduced me what you also got introduced to. We all know the legendary Chris Cormier clip on the hack squat, dying, and I think if you would do this like with 25, you would be Mr. Olympia with 26.
But here's the thing, he wanted me to come and train, and at the time I was thinking, oh yeah, but I'm training with the best trainer in the world, Charles Glass. But Charles was never pushing me like that. That's what people don't understand. It's like he got guys that had great genetics, and he went around with them and whatever. But he was not in their head, and he was not dragging out the dog inside of your body like Dorian did. And then by the time I was, even Jim Mannion was like, Chris, you should go out and train with Dorian for this Olympia. And I was like, oh yeah, spend like the last 12 weeks with Dorian. I said, okay, sure, I'll just go and, said, if you did that, you're gonna beat everybody. And when I was on my way to actually do that, it was too little too late, because then I had an injury in my back. I was actually in New Jersey waiting to go over the pond. And I was waiting for him to tell me when to come, because he was finding a place for me to stay. And that little time, that's why, it is true. Like when you have the time to do it, you better do it, because you never know what tomorrow brings.
Yeah. That's what we're saying. Right, I'm going to be categorically right here. I believe Urs Kalaczynski, I don't know when, could be this coming year, but based on his physique, his mindset, I believe one day Urs Kalaczynski will be the last man standing at the Olympia stage in the classic physique category.
When? This time?
I'm not saying that Ramon can't do it. I'm not saying Wesley Vissers can't do it. But there's two guys in bodybuilding that I have a feeling they're going to do it. In the open, Nick Walker, and in the classic, Urs Kalaczynski.
Well, there you have it.
You got to be locked in. I think Urs is locked in. From what it sounds like to me, he's super locked in. Nick Walker's locked in, I know for sure.
I have like an athlete pool in my mind, which is physique-wise, physique of like a Flex Wheeler with the aesthetics, the lines and everything. Mentally, a Dorian Yates, posing, a Bob Paris and a Lila Brada, and that combined,
where do I come
it's
in?
gonna be an Urs
You don't
Kalaczynski.
come in. You don't come in.
I see me somewhere in there.
You're the poor man's Flex Wheeler.
Come on, man.
You're the poor man's Flex Wheeler.
I pushed him.
You don't have to mention him, Urs. Nobody here has ever mentioned him.
I hope you can tell.
At least I've been on the stage.
You didn't get mentioned, Chris.
You're one of our favorites.
Good job not mentioning him, Urs. Good job.
Jay Cutler mentioned me.
Yeah, sure. We paid him a lot of money. We paid him a lot of money to mention your ass.
You already know.
Urs is definitely one of our favorites. I'm sure he's one of yours. Be sure to leave a comment, like, subscribe, share. Give us ideas for future segments, people you want to see on the show. Special guests to have.
That's a good one.
Derek Gilgindi.
Chris Cormier.
Tim Wilkins and the one and only Urs Kalaczynski. Thank you for joining us today on Primetime Muscle.